All right, so we're going to get started here in just a minute. Okay, no, so Charlie, it's not just you. We just haven't started. Now, I'm glad you did that, though. So, that's and Cam asked the question. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. We'll just try out. So as you guys have seen, over on the right now we have these Q&A app. So if you have questions, you can just type them in over there, and they'll show up over on the side. So I'll just go ahead and end that. Let me just see if I can see. Okay, looks like we're good. All right, so for those over there, if you guys want to follow along, if you brought your laptops, you can follow along there. Isha's got hers. Tony's got his. I'll just, okay, Hilda's all good. So we're going to go ahead and basically pick up where we left off last week. So let me share my screen, and we'll get started.
Hey, that's good.
All right. Oh yeah, and I'll wait for Eric. Were you wanting to follow along? Did you bring your laptop?
Oh.
You're good.
Smartphone.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we are making apps for your smartphone here. All right. So basically, last week we went over some of the basic stuff to do HTML, CSS, and make a very basic website. And then we talked about how, if I just pull up the code here, how you can basically import Jquery. Jquery Mobile is a library of different sort of visual components and tools that allow you to make your website look and work like an app. So we had imported those, and then we started structuring our app, and just by having these different sections, the header, the content, and the footer, they then turned it into this this type of thing here. But it still doesn't look much like an app at all. So basically what we're going to be doing today is focusing on making it look like an actual app. And to start with, I'm going to tell a little story about what we're going for here. So when I was younger, my dad, to teach me and my brother about graphs and temperature and stuff, he had, I believe I was temperature, my brother was barometer, but I forget. It could have been the other way around. Okay. And every day we would have to read the temperature or the barometer, whichever one we were, and plot it on a graph. So if I had been a mobile app developer back then, I could have totally defeated the purpose of what he was trying to teach us by making an app that would do that. But so what we're going to do today is just create a simple app that will allow someone to track something like temperature, or let's say their weight, or how long they run each day, and graph it over time. To begin with, what we'll do is get this looking a bit more. First off, what you can do is you can resize your browser to make it about the size of an app. Now, another thing that you can do, if you want to be exact, is if you press F12 on either Chrome or I believe even Firefox has this, but I know this works for Chrome. Let me go back and undo this to show this. Let me go over here. what you can do is you can click on this little image right here. Oh, I think it's getting cut off on the TV here. Let me just I'm going to just switch my screen real quick and try to get this working better. Bear with me here just a minute. This comes up. I don't know, it's shifted up. But anyway, there is a little, if I drag this down, I guess a bit, there's a little icon here, which when you click it, there's a tab called Emulation, and then you can select one of these different types of devices. And so, for example, if I want to see what my app would look like on, let's say, the Google Nexus 5, I can say Emulate, and it will adapt to the proportions of that phone. So this is kind of a nice way to just see how it would look on different devices. So what we're going to do here is, first off, try to get our header and our footer looking more like you'd want for an app. You know, not so thin, and obviously we want the footer down at the bottom. So whenever you are wondering about how to do something like that, there's, hey Lewis, how's it going? So you basically go to this website, Jquery Mobile, and they have a demo section. And in there, hey everybody, you go into just the latest stable version, and then they have all of these different widgets and so forth that you can look up. So in this case, for our website here, we're looking for how do we get this footer to go down at the bottom. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to just search for footer, and there are different things. I believe navbar might be what they call it. And you can look at that, you can say, oh no, this is actually something different. What we really wanted, let's say footer, what we really wanted, it looks like, is this toolbar. So in here, you can see that they talk about the header, and they give you every time they show you how to do something, they have this view source that shows you how to do it. So one thing we notice here is that they actually are putting the title of the page inside these H1 tags, which we talked about last week, which made things like a header. But in this case, because now Jquery Mobile is applying some formatting to this, it will make it not so thin and squished over to the left. So if we go in here, and now we put those H1 tags around our text in the header, and then once you put those in there, again, you always just do a save on your code, and you go back to your browser and refresh it. Now you can see that's looking a lot better. So same thing with the footer. If we go back to their website and we're saying, okay, here's this footer code. Again, we can see in this case they're actually wrapping it with H4s, which are smaller headers. You know, that's one thing to do. So I'll just go back to the code real quick and put some H4s around it. And in HTML, again, just as a quick reminder, these tags, the way they work is you have a less than sign, the name of your tag, and the greater than sign, and then when you close out the container, you have the same thing except that you start it with this /. So just, again, I'll just quick save it, go back, refresh it. Now again, our footer's looking a little chunkier with the text centered, it's looking a lot better, but again, this footer's floating way up here, which is not where we want it. We want it to be down at the bottom, regardless of how much content we have. So again, just going back to this thing, they talk about how to change the color. Okay, that's nice, but For now, we're not interested. But here, they mention if you add data position equals fixed, it will then put it all the way down at the bottom, which is what we want to do. So going into our code here where we say div data role equals footer, we'll add an attribute. Remember, attributes are these things that you put inside the tag. Data-position equals fixed. Now, before I go on, does anybody either in the room or on the webcast here have a question?
Sorry, this is online.
Yes. So actually, we currently have 10 to 16 viewers online. So this is a combo class here. So let me just double check to see if we have any questions on here. It looks like we're good. And I'll also just double check again for anyone who's watching on YouTube. Just email me your questions, and I will answer them. And I think I have a couple here. Now, and Kim, if you're on the call, just go ahead and send me an email to let me know. Otherwise, I will send you the link since I see you have an email and you're not hearing anything I'm saying. All right. So just saving that and coming over here to our thing. Now if we refresh, your footer should now be at the bottom. Did you get that, Tony? Okay, I'll just wait to let you catch up on that. You got it? Okay, great. Let me just, I don't see anything from Kim here, so let me just quick respond to that. So in the future, I always include the link in my email. And there's a different one each week. Okay. So now with that in place, we can start putting some content in here. And this is actually where wireframing comes in. So even if you go through this course and you decide, you know, I'm not really a developer, this coding thing isn't for me, you can still be a very important role for app development is design and good UI design. That's really, I'm kind of a mix between designer and coder. I tend to stick more to the design and the front end piece of it, and then I have some friends who are very good at the back end side. But just for an example, what I like to do when I'm designing my apps is, and this is the designs for my app Scoutlet that I mentioned, I use a program called, I just use PowerPoint. And sometimes people use very complex, fancy programs, but the nice thing about PowerPoint is that, so all this here are, almost all of this, if not all of this, is just PowerPoint shapes and text. So if I was to just sort of squish this down, you can see I've got a PowerPoint circle, rectangle, circle, text, that's a little image, and it's just very easy to put together and then save it and show it to someone. And then, we get more and more complicated here, but this now is something that I can work off of and the developers can work off of when we're developing. So I always like to do a little bit of a wireframe using something simple like this before I get started coding. Yes?
What does wireframe mean to
Okay, so the question was, what is a wireframe? A wireframe is basically just what you see here, a visual representation of what the app should look like. And the other thing, too, is that when you're doing this, then you can sort of think about what's a good flow for the user. Because especially on a phone where you have a smaller screen, or if you're handling both phones and tablets, it's very important to make it, make the best use of the screen. Don't overload the user with lots of stuff. Make it simple, and ideally it should be designed such that there's no instruction needed. It should all be just very intuitive. So going back now, okay, so if I was going to make a wire, for now we're going to keep it keep it simple. Again, if you press F12 and you click on that guy and emulate, that's how I've got it here. Otherwise, you can just resize your browser to make it look like an app. What we're going to do is just create a basic instruction to tell people, hey, this is an app to record the temperature every day and graph it. And then we're going to have a text box where they can type in the temperature and a button to submit that. To do this, the first thing we'll do is just expand this content section. So just put that on a new line. And like I mentioned before, I like to, whenever I'm inside of a container, just have it one tab in from the parent container. That way you can see that this header is inside the page, which is inside the body, which is inside of HTML very easily without being a confusing mess. For the text, we'll just go ahead and you can just type that in plain, describing what you should do. Now, you guys, while I'm going to be making a temperature recording app, you can make whatever recording app you want. So if you want to record how many pears you eat a day, you can make an app that records that. You can be very, very niche. But whatever you want, you can customize it for what interests you. So I'm going to go ahead and just call this temp tracker in the title. I'll leave that there for now and put some text here that says this is an app which allows you to track the temperature daily and view it on a graph. Have fun. So that's one of the neat things too, is that when my dad introduced me to programming, is that when you can tell a computer what to do, you can make the computer be friendly, you can make it be funny, you can make it say whatever you want it to say, and give it some personality. Now, this right here, this tag BR, basically what that does is it puts a line break. It's like carriage return. And it's one of the few tags that doesn't need a closing tag. So it doesn't need one of these corresponding BR with a slash in front of it, because it's not a container. It's just a line break. So we'll go ahead and put a couple line breaks after our text. And now we want to put a text box where someone can put in a number. So again, to figure out how to do that, we just go back to that Jquery Mobile site and search for text box. So nothing's coming up there, so you can try another term, like for example input and or text. And you can see here they have a section for forms. So going into there, you can see they talk about buttons. That's good because we'll need one later. But for now, what we're interested in is a input box. And actually, we really are just going to be taking numbers. So if we look at the source for that, they will show you the code to achieve whatever is there. Now, the reason they have all of this stuff here with type equals number and pattern equals 0 to 9 and so forth is for the phone. So on a computer, when I click in this box and type, it doesn't do anything different from if I just type in a regular, text input box. But on a phone, you know how sometimes when you tap on an input field, it comes up with numbers, and other times it comes up with like the @ symbol and .com or different things like that. By specifying those attributes, you can affect which keyboard comes up on the phone, which makes it just that much easier and nicer for the user. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to actually use this bottom piece here. And actually, for the sake of those on the web who are following along,
what section are you under?
This is under, if you go to the Jquery Mobile site and their demos, just click on the forms section over here. And then again, under that, you're going to click on forms again. So I'm going to actually just go ahead and take that code, oops, and paste it into the, oh, and you can see they have one for telephone, one for date, but I'm going to go ahead and just paste this line of code into the Google Hangouts website to make it easy for everybody following along online. Okay. Oops. Letting me hang on here. All right, so I just shared this on the Hangouts page, and or you can go into the jQuery mobile site yourself. And what we're going to do then is just paste that input box there. And again, so an input tag here basically creates some type of input. They have, and in this case, we're saying this is going to be a number type of input. Name is used for inside your code. So if you wanted to like do something to it or get something out of that input, you could refer to it by that. But more importantly is the ID. This is what we'll use later to actually say, okay, we want to get the number out of this particular text box. And value is where you could fill it with like a pre-filled value if you wanted to. But in this case, we're not interested in doing that, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of that. So now if we save it and go back to the browser and refresh, we should have our text and a nice input box, which when I tap on it is coming up. And actually in Google, because it's a number box, they have a little plus and up and down arrows. So that's how they handle that sort of specialized input thing. Any questions so far? Did you get it? Okay. Okay, yeah, sure. I just want to make sure I don't get too far ahead. And likewise on the website, any questions, go ahead and post them on the side or just email me. Okay, great. So, okay, great. And Kim is good. All right, now we've got our input. You got it. And now we need a button. So again, we just go back to this website and scroll up. We saw buttons up here. And looking at the source for them, you can see that they actually have 3 different ways of doing buttons. The simplest way, actually, just to keep things simple, I'm going to do it a little differently, is just to do this A tag version. Now the A tag in JavaScript, I'm sorry, in HTML is what you use for links. So if I wanted to create a link to Google, I would do this. I would do this href equals google.com and search for things here. And then again, close it out with an A tag. And I believe I have to put the HTTP here too. And if I was to do this, you know, I would get a regular link that when I click on it brings up Google. However, with jQuery Mobile, you can do something else. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this out because I don't want it to link to anything, any page in particular. But you can add this thing that says data-role equals button. And what this does is that jQuery Mobile, they detect this tag on here and they say, oh, this person doesn't actually want an underlined hyperlink. They want a nice chunky button that'll be easier to tap on a phone and avoid fat finger syndrome. So now if I refresh this, it turned it into a button. Now, one thing you might notice here is you might say, you know, this is like white on white on white. It's hard to see this button. No problem. all you have to do then is you go in here and again add a new attribute, data-theme equals B. And I'll explain the B piece in a bit. But basically you have these different themes, and they're just called A and B by default. But what's really neat is that Jquery Mobile, they have a site called Jquery Mobile Theme Roller, which allows you to customize the theme however you'd like. And you can add additional swatches, so C, D, E, etc. But now that we've added that, if we go back and refresh, now the button is black, and it's we've got some better contrast there. And we don't want it to say you can search for things here. We want it to say something like submit. And then we want to add actually one more button below that, which again we'll just keep blank for now, that says view graph. So, oh, good catch. So Mark pointed out that I'm missing a T in button there. Let me just give everybody a bit of a chance to catch up. And again, if I'm going too fast, just if you're online, shoot me an email. If you're in the room, stop me. And for those of you guys who came in a bit later, do you have any questions so far as a little bit of background? Is it making kind of sense so far?
Yeah, it's fine. I've done this before.
Okay, perfect.
What application are you using to display like the final, like the app store? Chrome.
Oh,
Chrome.
Yeah, Chrome in this case, yeah. And I was just showing them that under Developer Tools, there's that emulation option, which is why it looks so neat. All right, so now, if you're all caught up, your screen should look like this. So pretty simple, right? To get a fairly decent looking app up and not too much code or not too much time. So now the trick is, all right, we've got it. Well, actually, before we get into functionality, I'm going to do a couple of things. First off, let's go ahead and we'll create a placeholder page for our graph. So this will show you how Jquery Mobile does pages within the same document and allows you to do things like transitions between them. So what we're going to do is, you see this thing here where it says div data role equals page. And by the way, Notepad++, when you click on something, it'll automatically highlight the closing tag, which is nice. You just go ahead and copy all that stuff here. Put a couple new lines, and now we have 2 pages. Now, this actually exposes something that we missed. We need to, if we want to determine which page to go to, we have to name the pages. So this page up here, after it says data role equals page, we're going to say ID equals, let's just call it home. And then the second page we just made, we're going to call it ID equals graph. And now, all this stuff inside we don't want, so we'll just go ahead and take out all of that content and just put this will be the graph page under construction. Please do not sneeze on all the dust. All right. So you've got that, and maybe we're gonna we'll put graph up here. And at this point, this copyright thing is a bit formal, so we'll just get rid of it. So I'll just wait. Hopefully I didn't go too fast on that piece. If you missed anything, just let me know, and I'll
What did you say was too formal?
Oh, I took out the footer, but I mean you can leave it if you want. It doesn't matter. And now, well, I'll just wait. And so if you save that and go back to the site and refresh it, absolutely nothing happens. Even though we have that code there, you can't see that page at all, right? Where's the page? Even if I click that, nothing happens. So that is the power of jQuery Mobile. They say, look, if things are in these div data role equals pages, we know you only want to display one at a time, and we will make sure that that happens. So now, if we want to change the page from this main home page to this graph, we can add a link to it here. And all you have to do is you put the hashtag symbol followed by the page's ID. So in this case, hashtag graph. So now our link is going to this graph page whenever someone clicks on that. And just so that we can get back, once we get there, back to the home page, let's go ahead and we'll add an ahref equals hashtag home, and we can make that a button too. Back home to our graph page. All right, I'll just give folks a chance to catch up and just make sure everybody online is good. Again, definitely let me know if I'm going too fast, because I do not want to lose folks. And again, just while we're waiting to let people catch up, just to give a brief overview for anyone who missed the intro session, basically what we're doing here is we're making the apps initially with this HTML and jQuery Mobile, and then using a program called PhoneGap, you can then compile this into actual native apps that you can upload to Apple, to Google, to Windows, and they also have these JavaScript APIs that allow you to access things like the accelerometer, geolocation, and other things that you couldn't do nicely from just a mobile website. So it's really the best of both worlds, because you not only have the one code set that allows you to write apps for all the different things, but you also have the offline capabilities and so forth of a native app. So Tony, are you all set there? Okay, and Yishu, you're good? All right. Just give a bit. John, do you want me to email you the code here so far?
Sure.
All right, let me do that. Oh,
I'm good with this.
You're good so far? Okay, perfect. All right, so going back now to the website and refreshing, again, nothing changed, but if we now click on View Graph, aha, the page changed. So I see it looks like it worked for you. Isha, is that working for you? Good. All right, and then if we click Go Back Home, again, we're back home, and you saw the nice little fade transition in the middle. Now, let's say we were like, I don't know, that fade, I almost missed that fade. I want something that is like, 1990s PowerPoint transitions. I'm just nostalgic here. What you can do is go back into the jQuery Mobile. You can go under Pages, and here, sure enough, they have a section called Transitions, and you're like, maybe, that's more like it. Or maybe, something even a little bit more extreme. There we go. You can find a different transition that maybe you want. So the most common one to make it look like an actual native app is the slide transition, which is something very commonly used on iPhone apps. So if you want to implement that, they have, again, you just click, they have this view source. In this case, it's a lot because they're showing all of the different ones. But basically, you can see that here, you're simply adding this attribute, data transition equals slide, to your link. So going back to our code here, I'm going to go to that view graph link and just add that data transition equals slide. And similarly, for this go back home thing, I'm going to again add data transition slide. So now if we go back to our app, and this is not our app. Okay, hang on. So Raj was asking about why the footer is still there. Let me double check that. Okay, so the footer should still be on the main page, but now if we click View Graph, it disappears from there. We only removed it from that page. And you can see that now we've got this nice slide transition, except notice something. Did anybody notice anything weird right here? Yeah, there's no sense of actually going back. You feel like it should slide back. Again, they have an attribute for that. If you look in here, you'll see that they have, let me just see if it's in here. They have this data direction equals reverse attribute. So what we can do is come over here, add data dash direction equals reverse. And again, stop me if I lose you at some point. And now if we go back to our site, I'll click View Graph, and it'll slide to there. Go back home, slides back. Now this is how we would expect it to work. So now, the sort of the last real visual piece that I want to cover is making a custom color scheme. And like I mentioned, there is a website which they've made specifically to do that. So if you go to Google and just do a quick search for Jquery Mobile, it's called Theme Roller. And as you can see, the website is actually, if you want to just go to directly themeroller.jquerymobile.com. And this website allows you to basically customize the color scheme however you want, and then download that CSS into your code. So here they have the these two default ones, and in fact, what you could do if you want is import their default theme if you wanted to work off of that, and just say import. And you can see this is the B theme over here with the dark buttons. And then they also have the A theme, which is the lighter buttons. But suppose, we're doing an app that we want our brand colors in there. So I'll just go ahead and go with Scoutlet colors because I'm very familiar with that brand. And in that case, I want more of an aqua theme. So what I might want to do is I might say, well, in some cases I actually may want to have a light button and a dark button. I'd really like to just add a new one that I can use if I want. So in that case, what you can do is up here there's a plus button, and that will add a new swatch. They're called swatches, called C. And again, so now I can go ahead and customize this with either some of these pre-built colors. You can drag a color down onto something. You can now say, this button looks a little weird. If you click on this inspector element, it'll allow you to click on individual things, and then you can manually adjust the color in here. The opacity basically means how transparent it is, so we want to bring that down. So 100 is 100% not transparent. 0 is you can't see it at all. So we'll go ahead and make this maybe 50. And then you can do, just add, I don't know, I'll throw in some orange here, and for selected, and let's add, I don't know, throw in some purple here as well for the buttons. I don't know. This is a kind of weird looking theme now, but you get the point. And you can also adjust things like, for example, the hover button. If I come over here and drop this down, you can even control things like the text shadow, and all sorts of, you can get really nitty-gritty. But what we'll do now is, once you're all done editing it, adding stuff and whatever, you'll go up to the top and then just simply download it as a theme zip file. And they'll ask you what you want to name it. I'm going to call it Not Quite Scoutlet. And then you download a zip file which contains all of the CSS and stuff that you need. So once you've downloaded it, you can right-click. I'm here just right-clicking anywhere in the folder, and then I'm going to click Extract All, pull out all the files, and you'll see one of the things they have here is this index.html file. And if you open that with your browser, and for most of you, you'll just be able to double-click on that, they will then tell you, hey, this is successful, and here are a couple things you need to change to use this instead of our default theme file. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to copy these custom themes folder. It has a few files in it. We're going to go ahead and copy those. And actually, just to keep things simple, go ahead and just right-click on the themes folder itself. Copy that. And then go to wherever your code is. In this case, I just had it out on my desktop. And paste it out there. Now just going back to that site, we can see that they say, okay, put these two lines of code at the top, which are importing your custom CSS files. We talked last week about how you import CSS files and what the purpose of that is. So I'm going to go up here and put those up above my other CSS, and then you'll notice one other thing that's a little bit different is now they want to change which of their CSS files you're pointing to. So this is just a structure one versus the one we were using before, which had the default themes embedded in it. Now we don't need their default themes. We have our own themes. So we're going to use this other link instead of this one that we had there. So I'm going to backspace that and put that in, and now pause for questions. Did I lose you over there? Okay. Tony, did you get it?
I'm working it.
Okay. So if you weren't able to follow with this piece, it's no problem. This is something that later on, if you decide I want to customize stuff, this is the way you do it. And now, now that I have this C theme, I could go ahead and say, for example, let's say I wanted to make this header blue. I change the theme of my header to that C swatch. And I'll do the same thing with the footer. And maybe I'll make this button, because that white on white wasn't really that great, I'll also make that button a C theme as well. And you can have different, you basically are able to apply a theme to every individual element. So, for example, right now you'll see that I only have the C theme on the first page's header, not the second page's. So what's going to result is you're just going to switch from a blue header to a white header. So going back here, oh, that actually doesn't look too bad. I click on View Graph, and now it's back to none of that theme because we didn't change any of the theme here. Go back, and we've got the theme. So just a quick intro to how you can customize the color on the app very simply. Okay, so let me just back up a bit. The question was where you put the stuff for the theme. Let me start from, so you're at the file that you downloaded?
Mm-hmm. And I copied the index one.
Okay, so don't worry about the index file.
I copied the theme into my folder
Okay, so you've got the themes folder copied where your code is?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now what you should do is, let me pull up my code again. These are the 2 lines that you'll want to add to your code. And instead of not quite Scoutlet, you're going to put whatever you called your theme. Any other questions? All right. And I see we've only got 8 minutes left. So what I'm going to do very quickly is start to introduce the graph piece. So, right now we know that we can make this form very easily, we can make these pages and so forth, but a graph is a whole nother story. And so rather than code the whole thing, there are different libraries and plugins out there that have already done it for us, and it'll make it very easy for us to do that. So before I move on, were you able to get it going? Okay. Tony, how about you? No. Okay. I mean, let's take a look. So, and also anyone online who's still interested in getting that going. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got a whole bunch of questions here. Okay, so I see Raj is good. It's added on the home screen. And Kem asked, do we have to add that data transition equals slide on all links, or is there a way to add it in a style sheet so all links have it? So that's a great question, and the answer is yes. Hang on, let me finish that question on the Hangout. So the question is, let's just say I wanted all of my links to slide like that. The question was, do I have to add this data transition equals slide to every one of them? And the answer is no. You can just say, look, I just want all my links to slide. And again, the way we do that is going back here to the Jquery Mobile site. And we're here on the transitions page. There is this global configuration piece. And they talk about a default page transition here. And now let me see. So it's curious that they don't describe how to set that. So what we'll do then is, if you find something here where you're, even a Jquery Mobile question where you're looking on the site and you're saying this isn't clear, how do I do it? There are a lot of people out there who are using Jquery Mobile, and so you'll often find, if you type it into Google, someone else will have that question. And again, like I mentioned, there's this one site in particular, Stack Overflow, which comes up a lot. So if I click on that, he's asking about how to do that, and it turns out that to do that, you're actually going to use some JavaScript. And I'm going to hold off on the JavaScript piece until next week. But basically, the way this works is there's a way that you basically say, when this guy loads, call this command here to change the default page transition to slide or whatever you want the default to be. And then they will go through and take care of that for you. And then you've got to include that in there. But we'll get into the JavaScript next week. Other questions? We got 5 minutes, so I'll just end it with questions. You good, Lewis?
No.
No. Can I explain anything simply? No. Go back if you missed the first 2 videos. Watch those.
I understand like the GUI part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's
pretty much what I do anyways. But
Yeah, so that's all we've done so far. It's just he mentioned the GUI or GUI, which just stands for Graphical User Interface. That's all we're doing so far. We're going to get into making it functional in a bit. I'm going to go ahead and switch to video for the web. And again, anyone on YouTube has questions, just go ahead and shoot me an email. Anybody still struggling with getting those styles? All right, so this wasn't a question, but Raj is pointing out that that the person who answered the question was David. All right. So if anyone's still struggling with those styles, again, the things to do are from that website, theme roller, you download the zip file. Oh, and I should start sharing my screen again here. The steps are that you go to that website, you make your changes, you download it, you give it a name. It'll download to your computer. Once it downloads, you're going to right-click somewhere on it. You got it? How about you, Yisha? You got it? All right, great. You extract it. You then copy those themes folder into the same place as your now my mouse isn't working, as your HTML. So you've got your index HTML, your style, and then this themes folder, and then you go into your code in your HTML and you add those 2 lines that they mentioned to link to your custom CSS as well as their icons file, and then you replace the link to their CSS with the new link that they gave you in the index file. So you're all set. All right. So if there are no last questions, I'll post the recording online. Oops, hang on. So one last question here about sending the note page of this lesson. Yes. So what I'm going to do is in the recap, I'm going to send out the YouTube recording of this session, my code, in case anywhere along the line you messed up and you want to refer back to my code, you can start with that, and the link for the session next week. So I'll talk to you then. Thanks, everybody.